How are you, dear friends? Today we're going to revise two poems, The Wanderer and the Wife's Lament. The Wanderer and the Wife's Lament are two poems of the four poems we are studying this year that were found in the extra book. If you remember, the extra book found in some maybe monasteries or some churches. Nobody knows exactly who wrote it or when it was written, but they say it was written about the year 1000, and maybe some monks wrote this letter in which we found these four poems written in Old English, and they were translated by some translators. The Wanderer was translated by Charles W. Kennedy, as you can see. And in this poem, the wanderer is a person who walks aimlessly. He, like the seafarer, lives in exile. He lives in exile away from his homeland. Why? Because he lost his lord, his kinsmen, his friends. All of them were killed in one of the battles, and he tells us here how he lost all those people. He says here, oft to the wanderer, weary of exile, cometh God's pity, compassionate love, though woefully toiling on wintry seas, with churning o'er in the icy wave. The man or the speaker here describes his, let's say, suffering in his exile. He is weary of exile, he's tired of exile, and he, let's say, rows his oars in the icy wave. Imagine that the waves are made of ice, and you try to, let's say, sail through these icy waves. See how hard it is. Homeless, he's homeless and helpless. He fled from fate. Why? As he tells us here, he lost all his men and he lost his Lord. He says here, oft when the day broke, oft at the dawning, lonely and wretched in the early morning, he lives alone and he's wretched, he's desperate. I wailed my woe, no man is living, no comrade left. None of his relatives, none of his friends, even his Lord was killed. To whom I dare fully unlock my heart, I have no one to share my secrets with. I have learned truly, the mark of a man is keeping his counsel and locking his lips. A man should keep his counsel, his companions, and lock his lips. Let him think what he will. For woe of heart withstandeth not fate, a failing spirit earneth no help. Men eager for honor bury their sorrow deep in the breast. So have I also often in wretchedness fettered my feelings. I bottled in my feelings, far from my kin, homeless and hapless, since days of old, when the dark earth covered my dear Lord's face, when I buried my dear Lord underground, and I sailed away. Looks like after losing his Lord, who used to protect him, and his friends, his kinsmen, he was forced to leave his homeland with sorrowful heart, and sailed away with sorrowful heart, with a sad heart, over wintry seas. Again, he suffers alone in the seas, in the harsh seas of the north, seeking a gold lord. As we said before, lords used to give their subjects or their followers gold after being victorious in any war. If far or near lived one to befriend me, I'm looking for another lord or another friend, with gift in the mead hall and comfort for grief. Who bears it knows what a bitter companion shoulder to shoulder sorrow can be. when friends are no more. How sad a person can be when he has no more friends. His fortune is exiled. No gifts of fine gold, no more gold is given to him. A heart that is frozen, earth's winsomeness dead. All earth's pleasures come to an end, and he dreams of the whole men, the dealing of treasure, the days of his youth, when he remembers his days back, when his Lord bade welcome, when his Lord used to welcome him in the mead hall, to wassail and feast, to drinks and foods. But gone is that gladness. All this pleasure has come to an end, and never again shall come the loved counsel of comrade and king. I miss them, they will not come back again. Even in slumber, even in his dreams, his sorrow assaileth, his sorrow attacks him, and the dreams of he claspeth his dear Lord again, head on knee, hand on knee, loyally laying. He puts his head on the one of the knees of the Lord, and his hand on the other, and pledges his liege or his liege, as in days long past. He misses his Lord. He wants to kneel in front of him and tell him that he is loyal to him. Then from his slumber he starts lonely hearted, beholding grey stretches. When he opens his eyes, when he wakes up from his dreams, all he can see is the horizon and the sea, the vast sea in front of him, and see birds bathing with wings outspread. Then while hail storms darken and driving snow, bitterer than the pain of his wretchedness, the longing of loved one, his missing of his friends, his grief is renewed. The forms of his kinsmen take shape in the silence. He imagines that he can see his kinsmen, his friends. In rapture he greets them. In happiness, in pleasure, he waves to them, because he imagines that they are there. In gladness he scans old comrades remembered, but they melt into air, they vanish into thin air, and with no word of greeting to gladden his heart. He waves to them, but they don't wave back to him, and leave him heartbroken. Then again surges his sorrow upon him, and grimly he spurs his weary soul once more to the toil of the tossing sea. He goes back to the tossing sea, to the rough sea. No wonder therefore in all the world if a shadow darkens upon my spirit when I reflect on the fates of men. How one by one died. Proud warriors vanish from the halls that knew them, and day by day all this earth ages. Life on earth ages, comes old, and droops unto death like human being. No man may know wisdom till many a winter has been his portion. No man can be considered a real man unless he suffers from many winters. A wise man is patient. Here he mentions us the features or the characteristics of a wise person. So he is patient, is not fast to anger, nor hasty of speech. He is not hasty, he doesn't speak fast, he thinks before he speaks. Neither too weak, he is not too weak, nor too reckless in war, neither fearful nor faint, nor too wishful of wealth. A wise person is not wishful of wealth, nor too eager in vow, ere he know the event. He doesn't make a vow before he knows the event. A brave man must bide when he speaks his boast until he know surely the goal of his spirit. A wise man will ponder, will think again and again, how dread is that doom that all this will come to an end, when all this world's wealth shall be scattered and waste. And now, over all, through the regions of earth, walls stand rime covered and swept by the winds. These old buildings, like human beings, are aging, are becoming old and old, and they will come to an end. He who shall muse on these mouldering ruins and deeply ponder this darkening life must brood on old legends of battle and bloodshed, and heavy the mood that troubles his heart. Anybody who thinks of these old days will be saddened and sorry. Where now is the warrior? Where is the warrior? Where is the war horse? Where are those people? They are all gone. Gone forever. They'll never come back again. The last lines are bestowal of treasure, giving of gold as they used to do in the past, and sharing of feast. Alas, the bright ale cup he misses, the beer he used to drink, the byrny clad warrior, the prince in his splendor. Those days are gone or are long sped. They ended very quickly in the night of the past as if they never had been. And now remains only for warriors' memorial a wall wondrous high, with serpent-shaped carved storms of ash spears have smitten the earls, carnage of weapon and conquering fate. Again he laments all his past memories. Storms now batter these ramparts of stone, blowing snow and the blast of winter enfold the earth, night shadows fall. He draws this grim picture to tell us how, again, he suffers in his exile and in his loneliness. Darkly lowering from the north, driving, raging hail, the angry snow, in wrath upon men. Wretchedness fills the realm of earth, and fate's decrees transform the world. Here wealth is fleeting. Wealth will come to an end. Friends are fleeting. All the foundation of earth shall fail. Everything will come to an end. Thus spake the sage, the wise person in solitude pondering. Good man is he, a man good is he who guards his faith. He must never too quickly unburden his breast of its sorrow, but eagerly strive for redress. And happy the man who seeks for mercy from his heavenly Father, our fortress and strength. So you should guard your faith in God and seek for mercy from our heavenly Father, our fortress and our strength. He considers this is called an admonition. Admonition is like a warning or a piece of advice in which he teaches us something. This part is didactic. The poet teaches us that if you want to be happy, you should seek God's mercy and be loyal to your Lord. This was the first poem, The Wonder. Let's move on to the Wife's Lament. It was translated by Anne Stanford, and from the title it was about a woman who was sent to live in exile by her husband. Why? Because his kinsmen have plotted against their happiness, and he ordered her to leave home and go to live in exile. She says, I make this song about me full sadly. The use of the pronoun me here shows that she is honest. She wants to tell us, like the seafarer, that she tells us her own story, and it happened to me personally. My own wayfaring, I am a woman, or I a woman, tell what griefs I had since I grew up, new or old, never more than now. She's had many griefs, many sadnesses, but the one she's suffering from now is the strongest. Ever I know the dark of my exile. First my Lord went out, away from his people, over the wave tumult. Her husband went away. I grieved each dawn, every morning. Wondered where my Lord, my first on earth, might be. Then I went forth, a friendless exile. She went into exile to seek service. Some people say that service here means help, and some people say she wanted to work as a servant. In my sorrow's need, my Man's kinsmen began to plot against their happiness, as I said, by darkened thought to divide us two. So we must widely in the world's kingdom live wretchedly and suffered longing. They wanted us to live wretchedly, desperately, unhappily, and I suffered longing for my husband. My Lord, my Lord here is her husband again. Husband at that time was the protector of the wife, and he was her Lord. Commanded me to move my dwelling here. Her husband ordered her to move and live in this place on her own without anybody around her. I had few loved ones in this land or faithful friends. For this my heart grieves, because she misses her old friends. That I should find the man well matched to me, hard of fortune. It was hard for her to find her husband, suffering from lack of money, mournful of mind. He was sad most of the time, hiding his mood, thinking of murder. He was thinking of murder because he was in a critical situation. Blithe was our bearing. We were together, we were happy together. Often we vowed that but death alone, death only would part us two. They promised each other not to part or not to leave one another until they die, not else, nothing else. But this is turned round now. They are parted and they are still alive, as if it never were our friendship. I must far and near bear the anger of my beloved. I must bear the anger of my Lord. The man sent me out to live in the woods, under an oak tree, in this den in the earth. Some people say that the speaker here is a poet or a man. He's describing the woman who died and was buried in this grave, maybe. Or maybe this is the woman herself. Ancient this earth whole. I am all longing to see her husband, longing to unite with him again. She's living in this place. She's living in this place on her own. The valleys are dark, the hills are high. She's describing the place, and her memories seize her until in the last stanza she says, may that young man be sad-minded always. She wishes that her husband would suffer the same way. Hard his heart's thoughts, while he must wear a blithe bearing with care in the breast a crowd of sorrows. She wishes that his heart would be full of sorrows like her. May on himself depend all his world's joy. Be he outlawed far in a strange folkland. She wishes that he would be sent into exile to faraway land like her. That my beloved sits under a rocky cliff, and she wishes that he would find himself under a rocky cliff, rimed with frost, covered with snow, a lord dreary in spirit, drenched with water, a place which is full of water in a ruined hole. My lord endures much care of mind. She wishes that he would suffer the same. He remembers too often a happier dwelling like her when she remembered her happy life back in the city or in the on the earth. Woe to be to them that for a loved one must wait in longing. Those who fall in love suffer a lot like her. Thank you very much.